ladies and gentlemen, as promised, I said I would create a recap video a little more in detail about our shading activity for today. Don't forget, in Google Classroom, you will find a printable version of this sheet right here. You can print it out and work on it in paper and pencil. If you cannot print it, you can certainly draw what you see and then shade it on a piece of paper, or if you would like to work on it in Sketchpad, I do have a link provided for you in Sketchpad in Google Classroom. I will show you how to create or work on this sheet in Sketchpad as soon as I'm done doing it here by hand with pencil and a shading tool. So, of course, like I said when we did this earlier, your regular pencil is the best thing to use for shading, unless, of course, you have a really fancy art pencil. I do not recommend that you use a mechanical pencil because you get a little bit more smoother shading with a regular pencil. You'll also notice when I'm shading, I'm not using it point down. I'm laying it over on its side. I typically hold it like this so I can use the side of my pencil. It gives me a little bit smoother shading and it goes a little bit quicker. Now, this sheet has 4 sections you need to complete. Your top grayscale, where you're trying to duplicate what you see right up above. Your shapes or your forms that we learned about in our form lesson. You've got your cylinder, your cone, your sphere, and your cube. You are going to try and shade them in like you see them here. The last 2 parts are a little more trickier. Of course, they are shading smoothly the grayscale and then shading those forms smoothly. So let me jump right in and get started on how to do these forms or these grayscales. All right, so personally for me, I always start on the darker side. All right, if you like to start over here on the lighter side, you can. That's totally up to you and your preference. Just keep in mind that this last square is going to stay white. It's going to be as light as that white piece of paper behind it. So for me, all right, if I'm going to start on this side, I'm very, as lightly as possible, going to fill in that little square right there. All right, now we have our blending tools. You've got your Q-tip if you got it from the bathroom, or you've got your fancy blending tool, your tortillon stump, or if you don't have any of those, you can use your finger to just go ahead and smooth over that pencil. And if I'm starting at the dark side, like I said, holding my pencil on the side, I'm just trying to do this the best way so that you can see. I'm going to really fill that in really nice and dark. And then I'm going to use my blending tool to go ahead and blend that over. All right, so it's nice and smooth. Now, how dark your pencil is depends on how hard you press. So if I want this a little less dark, I'm not going to press as hard as that first block. Alrighty. And once again, as you're going, you might need to add more pencil or even use an eraser to take away some pencil. And of course, you're going to see me blend it over so it looks nice and smooth. And I'm going to go ahead to my next block, a little less dark and a little less dark. I need to darken that one up a little more. As you'll notice, you'll see me go back and forth, darkening up some of my blocks so that I can get some distinct different shades of gray. So I'm going to go from the opposite end too. I sometimes like to even jump it back and forth. Nothing wrong with doing that. Use those blending tools. Do the best you can with trying to create several shades or tones of gray. We learned that gray is a tone with your pencil. Okay. I know on my camera it probably looks like all the same shade of gray in the middle, but once again, you can go back, you can darken up things. Okay, you can use an eraser to lighten up things so that they look like separate shades of gray. All right, so now when you get down to the second area, you're going to do all of the shapes. Try and duplicate what you see here in these shapes down here. It's very much the same as doing this grayscale. The only difference is you're doing it on a 3-dimensional form. So I'm going to try and keep my left hand out of the way. I'm going to do the cone here. All right, I'm going to start out dark and then a little less dark. And a little less dark. Alrighty. Maybe make that a little darker. Use my blending tool. Alright, and don't forget your shadows, where they're cast on whatever surface that your shape might be sitting on. All right, and you'll do the same thing for those other shapes. Just try and duplicate what you see here to what you see down here. And once I said before that pencil is a different media or tool than printer ink is. All right, so your pencil might not be able to achieve or get that really dark shade, and that's okay. All right, so do keep that in mind. Don't get, totally frustrated that I can't make that exactly as dark, because your pencil is not the same as printer ink. So again, you're going to do that grayscale here. Now you're going to try and attempt to do it a lot smoother. So you're going to go from dark to light, harder with your pencil where you want it super dark, and then gradually start fading it over to get super light. All right, you want this to go smoothly. And then, of course, you're going to go ahead, use that blending tool, whatever you're using, finger Q-tip or tortillon stump or blending tool, to make it blend across nice and smooth. All right, the last one is very similar to what you did up here. The only difference is you don't have any sections to color in. You could certainly, while you're doing this, so for example, if I'm going to do the sphere here, you could certainly, color like you did in the one above, like you're doing the sections, but you want to be a little more careful now. You want to now gradually start lightening up on the pressure of your pencil to get lighter and lighter and lighter. Once you can't get any lighter, then you can go ahead and use that blending tool, your finger, your Q-tip, your tortillon stump, or your blending tool to go ahead and blend it so it looks like it's three-dimensional. And then, of course, you're going to use that shadow cast on the ground so that it looks like it's actually sitting on a surface. And you'll do the same thing with those other shapes. Do what you did here, darker to lighter, and then just blend it smoothly. All right, so now I'm going to switch over to Sketchpad. So let me get this window out of the way. And I'm going to show you how you're going to do this, or how you can do this in Sketchpad. So, of course, you're going to click on your bucket fill, and you're going to start out on whichever side of the grayscale that you want to start out with. I'm going to start out on the dark side. If you're using the bucket fill, oops, I don't know why I did that. So it is on Pixel. Let me try that again. There we go. All right, so you're going to use that bucket like we did in our pop art one to just fill in the sections. Now, like I said in class, the top two sections, this one and the next one, are going to be a whole lot easier to do digitally because you're just choosing the colors and putting them in. Oops, I didn't want that color there. Alrighty, so now, why is this not doing this? Sometimes this happens. I don't understand quite why. Let me try my zoom trick. Just trying that zoom trick, sometimes doing that solves some of my problems. And now if you need to make a different color gray here that's not totally in that color spectrum, you can totally use the slider on the bottom here where my little arrow is to make a different color gray. There we go. And it can get lighter, move it up a little more, and get lighter. Why is this not working? And lighter. Let me try my zoom trick again. So you catch my feeling, all right? You're going to make things lighter as you go along. Like Sketchpad, but sometimes when you just want it to work without issue, it doesn't. All right, so hopefully you guys and ladies catch my meaning about getting lighter and lighter and lighter as we go across. Same thing goes for these shapes right here. You're going to use that bucket fill. and try and duplicate what you see in each of the sections. Use that bucket fill. And that one's working for me. I think it's been working very hard for me all day, so it's telling me, Mrs. Swistak, it's time to quit. I do agree. I'm about ready to call it a day. All right, so those are going to be the same as doing the grayscale up the top. The difficult part, like I said, are these blends down here on the bottom. You're going to do the best that you can, and like I said, you might want to use that spray paint tool. Make sure that the size is all the way down towards the left so that it's not giant and huge. You want it small. Okay. Then you can use the spray paint tool to go ahead and start filling it in. Just take your time and be careful. Let's see if we can zoom this up a bit so it might make it easier to work with. Sometimes I find when I'm doing digital work, I need to zoom in. Okay. Another trick you might want to try around is, oh, that's just changed color. I was just looking to see if you could change the opacity on this. No. Is there a blend here? I don't see a blend. Okay. So you'll choose your next color and go ahead and just do your best you can. Take your time. Like I said in class, you know, I totally understand if you're doing this digitally and you can't get the blends very smooth. It's going to be hard. I know, but you know what? Sometimes doing things that are a little difficult are part of learning. All right, so we're going to do our next color. Now, in class, I said that if you took the lighter color before, so say I want these two to blend a little better, I'm going to take that lighter color and I'm just going to kind of dot in between the two colors, and it might blend it a little better. All right, I'm going to try experimenting with something here to see if something will work. I'm going to try this lighten here tool. That kind of didn't work. So, you know, it doesn't hurt to, no, that didn't work either. It doesn't hurt to experiment with some of the tools, see what they do, see if they work, see if they don't work. And those two tools that I tried didn't seem to work. All right. Now you're going to do that all the way across until you get to the darker side. When you're doing these shapes, try also zooming up. Oh, it's not letting me scroll. That's kind of weird. Maybe I can move the sheet up. Yeah, I can move the sheet up. All right, so try zooming up if you can. Make it a little bigger to work with. And then use your spray paint can, and once again, keep it small. You're going to have to do it very carefully. Put that back down again. All right. Let me try that again. Spray paint can, size. Of course, now it's not working for me. What is going on? Oh, it is working. It's just very light. All right, so let me try this again. Oh, that's because I'm using not normal. All right. There we go. I wasn't in normal. I'm going to undo that, and let's try that again. All right, so I got my spray paint can, and I'm just going to go very carefully. And like I said, I have to be very understanding with those of you that are using this rather than doing it by hand with pencil. It is going to be tricky. It's going to be difficult. It's going to take a little bit of a learning curve. So please don't be frustrated. Just do the best you can. Try as hard as you can. I know I am. Okay, so you kind of get the idea. Oops, I went a little too high. All right, great thing. There's an undo button. Now I'm going to do my little shadow. There we go. And of course, you try using whatever tools you can to make this easier for you. If you find that maybe the paintbrush works better for you, then use the paintbrush. Paintbrush also has a blur feature. Let's try that. maybe the blur. Let's try painting in our cone here. Since the paintbrush has a blur feature. Maybe I made it too blurred out. So I'm just trying some different tools. Oh, there it is going. It's just very, very, actually, okay, this is a very interesting thing that I've just learned, that with the paintbrush and the blur feature turned up, you might get a little bit better of a blend. All right, you just have to go over that area a couple of times with your color to get it to fill in. My question now is, does the spray can have that same blur feature? Let me check that out for you. No, the spray can does not have the blur feature. All right, so the paintbrush, ladies and gentlemen, seems to have a blur feature that you can turn up, and it might help you. And you can also turn it down if it's too, washed out for you. So that's an interesting hint. The only thing is you might have to go over that area. Oops, too big. One or more times to get it to really actually show up. Oh, too much, not enough blur. Let's try it again. All right, so blur feature. All right, so that's a little effective, a little more effective maybe than the paint can. So once again, it's going to take a little experimenting on all of our parts to figure out exactly what are the best tools to use for this assignment. Actually, that's starting to work out quite nicely right here with our dark colors. Let me try and do a little bit with the lighter ones and see how that works. So very interesting. By turning up the blur a little bit, you're able to blend a little bit better. Very, very interesting. All right. So I hope this was helpful for you, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget, the whole sheet must be completed entirely in order for you to get your full grade. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care. Bye-bye.